truck up. You don't have anybody behind you, man. Just back the truck up. There, not a bad guy, bro. USW. We are USW.
How long have you worked in the refinery?
9 years.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a operator. National agreement reached, and then the local has to be settled too. We may be able to go back in before, but from what we're hearing, we won't. That it'll have to be settled nationally and then locally after that.
How is it?
We work in a refinery, sure. There's the chance of that on a day-to-day basis, and that's some of the things we're concerned about. Because it not only affects us, it affects the surrounding community and everybody in the Bay Area. There have been accidents throughout the industry, yes, and we just want, this isn't just for this particular facility, this is a nationwide thing with the USW. We're concerned about everybody in the nation working in this kind of environment, this kind of job.
The action by the nurses here to support you, do you think that shows that there's more community support going for you? Or?
It has to. I mean, this is incredible, the turnout we've gotten with them. It's incredible, yes.
And what is the company, what are the issues around health and safety that you're challenging the company on?
It's not this company in particular, it's the entire industry.
So they negotiate together as an industry?
Yes. Shell Oil is at the table right now negotiating with the USW. So it's not, we're not fighting locally here at this point. This is a national thing, and we're fighting for everybody in this industry.
And are they making profits?
They're making record profits. They've been making record profits for years and crying poor, and this isn't a strike for money, this is a strike for safety. 2 gentlemen we had flown out here that were burned with sulfuric acid were burned because of a maintenance problem. And that maintenance was done by contractors, not by USW workers that are trained to do it. That's our concerns, because we have people coming in with questionable training, doing work that we're the ones walking around at 2 in the morning when this stuff can open up and have problems. The management isn't out here walking on the units in the middle of the night. That they aren't doing the quality that the USW maintenance workers are doing. We don't know what their qualifications are. We don't know their trainings.
You know what the problems are.
Right.
Your job and your health and safety yourself.
No, I'm an operator. As a union member, as an operator, I have no control over who's coming in. All I do is I prep the equipment for service, and I write the permits for those workers to do the work. I have to ensure their safety.
And those workers that were burned, what was the specifics about that?
Those were operators that were putting a piece of equipment in service. They were putting a sample station back in service, and a piece of tubing that was crimped wrong and came apart.
Does that concern you?
Oh, it concerns me greatly, because it could have happened to anybody. They did nothing wrong. All they did was open a valve, put this sample station back in service, and were burned with sulfuric acid. It could have happened to anybody. They are not trying to run it now. It was shut down. My particular unit was already down for maintenance. OSHA has been in the plant. We've seen them come in and out, so they are checking on it.
Do you think it should be operated without the operators?
I definitely don't think it should be operated without the operators. The people that are in there, the management that are in there, may have run it 10, 15 years ago. It's not the same plant it was when they were running it. And it takes, coming off the street, it takes us a year or more to become qualified. These guys read a book and had a wand waved over them and are told that they're qualified. They are not qualified to the levels of the USW workers that are standing out here now. I'm also concerned because a lot of the units still have product in them. All of our emergency response team, 90% of it is out here on the picket line and not inside. Contra Costa Fire is not trained to deal with the kind of chemicals and petrochemical things that are inside this plant. We are the ones that have the training to fight the fires inside this plant, and we're out here on the picket lines.
So you think it would be reckless for them to stop the plant with you guys out here?
I would be greatly concerned that the fire departments rolling in are not properly trained to fight those fires.
Yeah.
They're making record profits. Tesoro the fourth quarter, they just let out their fourth quarter earnings. That was down, but overall for the year last year, they had record profits. They just released it. I don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember. But we're talking we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. They're a Fortune 100, where they're within the Fortune 100.
So you're talking about big companies?
Tesoro isn't a very well-known name, but they're a very big company.
And how long do you plan to be out?
I have no idea. It depends on how long it takes the oil companies to get together and negotiate fairly at the table nationally and then locally.
What's your name?
First name is Warren. The last name is Kostenek, K-O-S-T-E-N-U-K.
And you said you have to write up these work orders for these contractors to come in. What kind of training or certification are you required to have to operate as an operator?
As an operator, you have to have a lot of certification, a lot of training. There's training, constant training to be able to do that. You have to be fully qualified on the unit to write a permit. So you have to know everything that's in the pipes, any potential danger that worker could encounter while doing that job, and ensure that he is not going to encounter that danger.
Now, working in refinery, as you said, there are a lot of chemicals, there are a lot of toxins. Do you have a health problem of your own members getting sick or getting cancer?
We have had, and whether it's above the population average, I have no idea. But yes, we have had several people retire and die shortly after of cancer and other diseases that could have been caused by their exposure. You have to be very careful of what you're doing, where you're doing, and what protective equipment you're wearing.
You think how is this an issue of concern to the community out here? Everybody behind the light.
Well, it's a health concern to us inside, but there's also potential to impact the local community if there's a fire or a release that goes past the gates. It could definitely affect the local community.
So a lot of people in the community in the Bay Area are very angry about these accidents.
Sure.
Do you think they can be prevented?
There's always going to be accidents. There's always going to be things you can't predict. But there's ways to make it safer so that those things don't happen as often. If you have the right people, the right engineers, the right management, with the right safety culture, you can avoid a lot of them, yes.
And do you think this is an issue nationally?
I believe it is, yes. We've lost a lot of USW members, have lost their lives doing this job. All we want to do is go home at night to our families. We're fighting to have a decent job and to live our lives.
To try to make the refinery safer. Well, if you have contractors that aren't qualified or certified to run the units, that makes it dangerous for everybody. It makes it dangerous for the public. We don't want that. We want to ensure this is run properly, it's run safely with qualified, certified operators. Does the what? Yes. They do. They do a good job here. Well, if you contract out work and you don't have operators that know their jobs, are proficient with their work, then that puts us all in danger. It puts the refinery in danger, the community in danger, your family.
I'm Greg Karras with Communities for a Better Environment. We're the communities of color, the working communities, the communities with workers in them who work in the plant, who live on the other side of the fence line, who die and get injured when the plants blow up and spew toxics just like the workers do. And so, of course, we're here supporting worker rights. That's our last line of defense. When the companies cut corners on safety out of greed, when they pollute, when the government lets them. So we're here together to fight for everyone's health and safety. This is everyone's fight. This is the community's fight too, and we're supporting the steel workers, the men and women who work in this refinery, and keeping us all safe. It's an issue for everybody. You want to talk about climate change? The oil industry has to change. We as a society are all going to have to pull together over the next generation to save our climate from a disaster that'll affect all of us. And we can't do that if we're not working together to rebuild the energy system. And so workers' rights are crucial for that too. This is everyone's fight, and CBE is calling on everyone to support cleaner, safer refineries in this action.
And you've had some explosions at Chevron.
Yes.
You have a lot of asthma. What are some of the health effects that have been caused by these refineries? workers?
Well, the most immediate ones are that workers and community members die in spills, fires, and explosions. The asthma rates are sky high pretty much everywhere in the state, but they're up to 4 times higher. We have classrooms near some of the polluting facilities in the Bay Area where half the kids are carrying asthma inhalers, where it's not unusual to make that midnight emergency run to the hospital when your kid gets an asthma attack, where things that are almost unimaginable in a healthy community become commonplace. And so our communities, my bosses, CBE's membership, are demanding that refining companies, that the managements of these companies and the management of Chevron do all they can. Chevron is standing by while the last and biggest emergency room hospital in Richmond is closing. And we're also standing with the nurses to fight to keep that hospital open. No, Chevron's doing quite the opposite. Chevron's probably the main culprit in causing the asthma. And so one other thing I wanted to say that's topical to this, another way you can tell that the union has the community's safety, that they put safety first, that they're really the ones that did. They cooperated in a safe and orderly shutdown of this Tesoro refinery when they were forced to strike for their rights. And it's more safe that way. They put safety first, strike or no strike. Chevron is threatening to hold the communities of Richmond hostage by running the refinery with people who haven't run its equipment before. That's incredibly dangerous.
They're actually saying they're going to run the refinery if the workers go
They have said they have no plan to do a safe and orderly shutdown. We're calling on Chevron to put safety first, strike or no strike, and realize that it cannot hold our community hostage, our community's safety hostage as a bargaining chip in a strike where workers are only fighting for their right. I'm not a lawyer, but I think whether it's legally negligent or not, it's the wrong thing to do, and we're not going to let them use our health as a bargaining chip. They should not be. Look, when I was a student, I had an old car that was put together with baling wire and duct tape, and you might know how to drive, but you didn't know how to drive my car. Refineries are much more like that than your old car. They're all built custom. You may have operated a refinery, but if you haven't operated this refinery, you don't know how to do it safely. What Chevron is talking about doing is crazy. And so CBE is calling on Chevron. We're demanding a safe and orderly shutdown. We're demanding that they stop threatening our community's health as a bargaining chip in this strike.
And what can people do who want to support the refinery workers?
Well, they should come out here. They should tell Chevron so. They should write letters to the editor. They should join organizations like community organizations like CBE, Communities for a Better Environment, my organization that has steelworkers on its board of directors. And if they're working in the plant, they should join the union.
Katrina.
What kind of work do you do?
I work in the engineering department, document control. For the safety for all of us that work in the refineries, they're not supporting us.
How long have you been in the refinery?
16 years.
What's it like working in the refinery?
I love it. It's actually a great job. It really is. I love it. And I miss my job.
I'm a nurse, and I know what it's like to be laid off and to be on strike. And I work for a doctor's medical center in San Pablo. It looks like it will be closing. The should be coming out today to the members that doctors has to close.
Don't they need that hospital for the community?
Well, they do, but nobody cares. I mean, they care about money and balancing the budget. I mean, if one of these refinery have an accident, and where are they going to go? It takes longer. I mean, a few minutes might be alive, and they don't care. It's not, this is really a shame. Okay, it's a shame. Okay. Personally, my car have a lot of debris in it after that fire 2 years of 2012. So, they don't care. They look at the bottom line. So, it's really a shame.
And how many nurses and hospital workers are going to be affected by the shutdown?
The hospital, probably 500. They already cut down They already cut down because people know they're closing, so they left and find another job. So whoever stays with the hospital like working there and like to take care of their population. They stay, and now they're going to get the bad news that finally they'll be unemployed too.
And a lot of the patients that come into your hospital, are they affected by the toxins in the air in the hospital?
I mean, the last time there was an accident in 2012, we have 18,000 people came into the ER to complain, and I don't think anybody got admitted, but they got checked out. They have the X-ray, they have some blood tests. They got breathing treatment to open their lungs, and then breathe in some fresh air and oxygen. I worked there about 6 years, but I've been a nurse for 40 years. This is my local hospital. I live in the community. If I got sick, I don't know where I'm going to go. It's really a shame.
Yeah. And the oil companies can afford to pay for that.
Can keep it open, buy it, support our deficit. It's only like 18 million a year. What's that to them? It's like peanuts, right?
My name's Pacheco. I'm with CWA. CWA is here to support the steel workers. They're our first line of defense for refinery safety for the community. They need to be empowered to have a safe workplace and actually work to defend the community in these dangerous environments of the refinery.
You have health and safety problems in your job?
Absolutely. They're a little bit less explosive and toxic than the steelworkers, but we definitely do, yes. So we're all in this together. We support each other so that we can all collectively have some power against the corporations.
You think it's a general problem?
It is definitely a general problem. Some spots are worse than others, some employers are worse than others, and I suspect that this refinery or these refineries are worse than some, but it's definitely a general problem.
You live in this area?
I live in Hayward.
My name is Ralph.
Yep.
Try to imagine 14 days in a row working night shift, 12-hour shifts minimum.
Right.
Fatigue, a lot of things. You don't think straight. Your concentration level is not going to be there. You need to be sharp to do the job that we do out here. Not only to protect ourselves, but it also protects the communities around us. We need to be at our best, and as we start getting fatigued, that part of us is compromised. So when you think about working that many days in a row, minimum 12 hours,
So how many days in a row, 12 hours do you work? And that sounds like...
We're supposed to work 4 and then have the 4 off with 2 mandatories of our 4 days off. Oftentimes with upsets in the unit and the maintenance work that's going on in there, we're required to work a lot longer. I mean, turnarounds, we get 13 days straight and then a fatigue day. I believe it's minimum staff. They can't staff for emergencies, so they're left to staff for minimum staffing on every unit. So I think the community should be concerned about us being out here on the street and not inside there. We're qualified union employees that were, there was a lot of time invested in us, our training. So when you pull us out of the refinery, what do you have left inside the refinery? Unfair labor practice strike. It's not an economic strike. This is for our safety.
And what's happening with safety in the oil industry?
I think if you watch any video or program, they'll tell you these refineries were engineered. They weren't engineered for what we're doing today. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I'm not the first person to say that. I was personally injured. I was sprayed in the face with sulfuric acid from a pipe that was ruptured. And on my body, I had personal protective equipment required to do the job I was doing. So that shielded my body from a lot of the damage, but I did receive damage to my face and my neck and in other parts that were exposed to the process. So I ended up having to, take some time off of work, and since then I've returned to work.
What is it like being sprayed with sulfuric acid?
It's miserable. It's hell. If you can imagine all the skin off your face on fire, feeling it's burning, then times that by infinity, and it's not a pleasant place to be. There are contractors out there that are contracted out to do a lot of the work in our refinery, yes.
Are they properly trained?
I don't know. That's their company's. That's a question. That's their company's policy. I sure hope so.
How much training do you have to have for health and safety at a refinery?
Health and safety, well, I've been there as an operator, I've been there for roughly a little over 3.5 years, and I'm still training. And health and safety is part of it, you know. So I feel like their training will never stop for somebody who works in a refinery. It's an ongoing thing. Something you can't get complacent, something that you need to stay focused on.
I'm Jerry Fryworth. I'm a retired shell operator. A couple of years I've been retired, and I was a hydrocracker operator for the time I was at the Martinez plant. The biggest problem is that these companies, all of them, some worse than others, but without exception, all of them, when it comes time to choose between profit and safety, will choose profit every time. Chevron was a classic example, and they came close to killing 19 people within a hair's breadth. And they knew that this was a problem. They were told it was a problem, and they kept saying, "Oh, we'll fix it, and we'll test the metallurgy, and we'll change out the pipes." And then at every turnaround, which is a vast process of fixing these units, they pull it out, and they say, "Oh, we can wait on it."
And are they responsible?
I think people should go to jail over it, because they came close to killing 19 people, and they put 15,000 people in the hospital. So, and it's not just the companies; it's the regulatory agencies. The Houston Chronicle had an expose about Cal OSHA. It was called in about 9 months before the accident occurred, the fire occurred at Chevron, into another unit for the same problem, for corrosion caused by high sulfur. And they were called in by the workers, who were really afraid. They said, "This is an accident waiting to happen." And according to the Chronicle's report, Cal OSHA came in, looked around, shook everybody's hand, and said, "We don't see a problem," and left. So just like the PUC, these regulatory agencies are non-reliable as defenders of safety.
Do you think they're really being controlled by the companies? Is that,
I don't want to go into conspiracy theories, but I think that in the end, not the regulatory agencies, not government, none of these bodies can stand up to the power of these corporations.
And the unions? Do you think the unions will be able to?
I think the unions are our only chance. They're the only guarantee. The workers and the unions are the only guarantors of safety. And we have to get better at it, and stronger, and make more alliances with people in the community, because our families live in these communities. When we put stuff out into the community, it's our families who are getting hurt as well as other people.
We are on strike for safety. Nate?
Nate?
Yeah.
And what are the issues that you're concerned about?
A lot of safety issues, staffing, fatigue, just unsafe conditions throughout the refinery. We've been working a lot of long hours, trying to just do things safely. We have to maintain a qualification to run the units, and a lot of these people that are working it now, luckily we're down, but a lot of the people that are the management people working in the refineries, they are not qualified any longer.
How long have you worked with the refinery?
I've only been there for about 1.5 years.
You've ever been on strike before?
No.
Have you been in a union before?
This is my first union, first strike. Yep.
What's it like?
It's eye-opening. I like it.
You like it?
Yeah. I don't like the strike in itself, but I like what we're striking for, and that we're making a stand for safety. All these people came out today. That's pretty awesome. I didn't expect this many people to show up, but I'm really glad that they did.
Rain. That's very inspirational to me. She's been back a couple of times. You guys are awesome. Very heartfelt. Thank you very much for coming. I'd like to give a warm thanks to the CWA that's also here. Make some noise, CWA. That's what I'm talking about. IWW, where are you at? Thank you very much. This is awesome. Again, the CNAs, we couldn't do this without you. Thank you very much. All the trucks we've turned around, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Katie Romer. I'm a registered nurse and I work in Oakland. And nurses are here today because we are in support, in solidarity with the steelworkers and their strike. We are very clear that many of the conditions that the steelworkers are facing are the same kinds of conditions that we face. They are the people that are on the front lines, are risking their lives often in order to do the job that they do, and like us. They need the ability to be able to shut down production when they identify the health and safety risks. When they don't have that power, it puts the community at risk. We also hear that they're being asked to do a lot of overtime. They're being mandated actually to do overtime because they don't have enough working people to do all of the work that they're being tasked to do. So that's also something that we face. And we know that when you work too much, when you're asked to do many shifts in a row, that makes you tired. And that makes you more likely to make a mistake and less likely to identify the kind of critical safety problems that these workers are entrusted with finding. We also know that management has incentives to keep production going. And so these workers are asking for the ability and contractual language to shut down production when they see that there is a health and safety risk for themselves, their families, and of course the community. And we absolutely wholeheartedly support that they should get that language in their contract so that they can keep themselves and all of us safe. The last point is our communities have epidemic proportions of asthma. So when these workers are not able to shut down production because they don't have the power to do so, and there's an explosion, those releases into the air and the environment impact our communities directly. And the children and the people who have asthma then are at risk and have to go access care. And who provides that care? We do. So we see the kids and the adults who are struggling to breathe and who need medical care. And to be honest, we would prefer not to have to provide that care when it isn't necessary. We have plenty of work to do to take care of our communities, and so we are here in solidarity with the steelworkers. We support you wholeheartedly. We want you to be able to get what you need. We understand your struggles, and you're going to win.
All right, let's give it up for Brooke Anderson from Movement Generation. USW! 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 All right. Good afternoon. How y'all feeling? My name is Brooke Anderson. I'm with a project called Climate Workers that is part of the Movement Generation Justice and Ecology Project. We are so honored to be here walking the picket line with United Steelworkers Local 5 today. We know that refinery workers are on the front lines of keeping our communities safe. And we're out here together with a dozen different environmental and climate justice organizations here today to support you. We are Movement Generation, Climate Workers. Where's Bay Localize? The Local Clean Energy Alliance, Earthworks, the Bay Area Climate Justice Council, Communities for a Better Environment, Richmond Progressive Alliance, the Sunflower Alliance, Center for Environmental Health, 350 Bay Area, Sierra Club Bay Area, and Forest Ethics. We want the steelworkers to know, we want the media to know, we want our elected officials to know, we want Tesoro to know that as environmental and climate justice organizations, we stand with striking refinery workers. When I've been on the line here, I've been horrified to hear from workers who've talked about seeing their coworkers burned by sulfuric acid on the job and helicoptered out to UC Davis. I've been horrified to hear that workers are working 30, 45, 60 days in a row of mandatory overtime. And we know that workers that are that tired on the job are not able to protect our communities in the way that they want to. We also want stop work authority for United Steelworkers refinery workers, because we know that it's that authority to shut down the refinery when it's not safe that's going to protect us from the leaks and from the fires and from the explosions that put our communities at risk. We know the greed of the big oil industry is environmental and climate justice, and we know that you know the greed of the big oil industry, and this is the dream team to fight together for for steelworkers, and for healthy communities. Thank you so much.
We also have Greg Karras today, here today from Communities for a Better Environment. So give it up for Greg.
Hi everybody. Where I come from, your father might come home late, dirty, shaking, try to explain to his kids about the explosion in the plant. It killed somebody that day. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah! We know what you're talking about.
I was 5 or 6, first time that happened to me. I'm Greg Karras. Woo! I'm Greg Karras. Communities for a Better Environment. We are working people, people of color, in the fence line communities. You know who you might find in working communities on the fence line? Anybody want to say? Workers.
Right. Workers. We live here.
We're communities for a better environment. Steelworkers leadership have been on our board of directors for many years. And we're an environmental justice organization. Environmental justice demands everyone's right. CBEI and CBE want to say to the men and women who operate the refineries here, to steelworkers, that you are doing a great service for all of us, standing up for our rights to health and safety in one of the hardest and most important places to do that. I don't have to tell you that we face a grim reality in our communities, where preventable incidents are still injuring and killing workers and community members alike, while companies cut corners on safety and fight stronger oversight and laugh all the way to the bank. Workers on the front line operating the plants are our last line of defense against the next spill, fire, explosion that could kill. And like Brooke just said, the fight for clean, safe jobs that we're in together, that's everyone's fight. And we're going to win because we're going to tell them, people are going to find out, more people are going to join us. It's everyone's fight. Without worker rights, how could we hope to achieve the just transition to clean, safe jobs that everyone, everywhere needs to stop a climate disaster? How can we do that? With the just transition, we're going to get those clean, safe jobs. Thank you. It feels really good to be here. This is what solidarity feels like.
We also have a lot of folks today from Richmond, so I want to have somebody very special, Marilyn, and I always say her name wrong, last name wrong, Langlois, from the Richmond Progressive Alliance. So give it up for Marilyn.
Hello, steelworkers and allies. It's great to be here. I'm with the Richmond Progressive Alliance, and we are profoundly committed to the notion that people should define their own destiny in local government without undue influence from big money or excessive corporate profits. As you all know, just 2.5 years ago in Richmond, we had a horrific explosion and fire in the Chevron refinery that nearly cost 19 workers their lives. That refinery should have been shut down. And we've been fighting ever since to maximize the safety requirements, and we support all of the workers' demands because it's the workers in the refinery who are the true experts on what it takes to make operations safe. And the workers must be listened to. So we are demanding of Chevron that they adhere to all of the steelworkers' demands for safety, and we're also demanding that if this strike should spread to the Chevron refinery, that they do not try to continue operations with scabs. That would be really bad, really unsafe.
Yes.
So we're with you, and we want to fight with you this fight, and also work for that just transition until we all have really great jobs in the clean and green economy with renewable energy. So keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Get up.